Hi everyone, my name is Juan Carlos Gonzalez. I'm integration domain specialist working for EMEA and Middle East customers, and happy to have you here. So today I will show you how to enable an event-driven real-time Twitter sentiment analysis dashboard. So just to give you a brief of the agenda, we're gonna understand the use case and the context around this solution. Then we're gonna see what the components and modules of this solution are. Then I'm gonna perform a live demo where you will see how to enable this from scratch. And finally, I will talk about the Oracle Cloud architecture that makes this possible. So let's first understand the use case. So the idea of having a real-time sentiment analysis dashboard is that you can keep retention and referrals high around customer service. You could respond to marketing campaigns immediately and not the day after. So when we're talking about real-time sentiment analysis on social media like Twitter, one of the things or one of the use cases is how to mitigate dissatisfaction of a product or service at the right time. So people complaining in social media should receive an instant reply, because in the end that shows that you are taking care of them and you know them right better. So the second use case is how to increase or using these kind of solutions, real-time sentiment analysis solutions. Twitter says that if you care about customers and replying to negative feedback in social media like Twitter, you will increase the willingness to pay. And finally, you could have an enabled real-time promos for loyalty members complaining about a specific service, a specific product, or even the brand itself. So responding immediately with a real-time instant campaign email should be something that it could be really, really good for your customers, and also the way to increase your customer retention rate and customer conversion rates as well. So what the solution looks like is basically it has a main component that is Oracle Integration Cloud. Oracle Integration Cloud is a PaaS service which connects, extends, and automates end-to-end business processes. So in this specific solution, we're gonna use a native adapters. So those are plug-and-play adapters that wrap up all the complexity on how to integrate with our sentiment analysis AI language service, how to connect to a Twitter sentiment store, that in this case, we're going to use Autonomous Database as the sentiment store for the results and the tweet feeds, and also how to enable an event-driven solution, sending or publishing and consuming those Twitter feeds into a Kafka-based service that is OCI streaming. So in the end, we're going to capture those tweet feeds using an OCI Python SDK. So when you combine Oracle integration together with these other cloud services, this is where we can add a lot of value to our solutions and provide this kind of real-time sentiment analysis dashboards that could help you to start, giving up better customer service and creating targeted campaigns. So when I say low-code, no-code approach, is because Oracle integration and these adapters allows you to avoid the complexity on how to connect to different applications. And specifically for this solution, we're going to use the OCI streaming or Kafka-based adapter that we have in Oracle Integration Cloud, together with the REST connector that allows us to call the OCI AI language sentiment analysis API, and also how to send those tweets and the sentiments into an Autonomous Database store. Another important module is OCI AI language service. So OCI AI language service contains or delivers and provides pre-trained models. So we can detect the language over a text. We can recognize entities on a text. We can enable aspect level, sentence level sentiment analysis. In this case, we're gonna use sentence level sentiment analysis. And we can even classify text. So just to tell you that We can even create your own custom models. You can read them, and you could provide a kind of custom text classification, for instance, to do AI-based service ticket classification. So these kind of use cases are really useful with this service that we have. So this is what the solution looks like. So we're gonna have Twitter. So every time someone tweets about a specific hashtag, we're gonna capture that with a Twitter listener that is an OCI Python listener using the OCI SDK for Python that we have. That's going to be deploying an OCI VM virtual machine. And then once we capture those tweets, we're going to publish them or send them to a queue or a Kafka topic, an event topic that is a tweet feed queue in OCI streaming. Once we have them there, we're going to use our no-code integration platform or integration cloud. We're going to use the OCI streaming adapter to capture and consume those feeds. We're going to apply bulk sentiment analysis on those Twitter feeds. And finally, the results together with the feeds, we're going to send them to a Twitter sentiment store that in this case is going to be Oracle Autonomous Transaction Processing. So once we have that, we're going to have an analytic dashboard in Oracle Analytics Cloud on top of those Twitter sentiment stores records on that store. So let's explain a little bit the demo that I'm gonna perform right now. So it's a live demo, and the demo story is basically we're gonna use an OCI Python Twitter listener that is gonna capture those Twitter feeds in real time. We're gonna send them to OCI streaming, to a Kafka topic, a Twitter topic. And once we have that, the next thing, the second part of the demo is to consume those feeds using Oracle Integration Cloud with the adapter that we have, and then applying sentiment analysis, calling the REST API for AI language, and finally send those tweet feeds and the Twitter sentiments into Oracle Autonomous Transaction Processing. Once we have those tweets and the sentiments over them, then we will show how easy and quick is to enable a dashboard, a real-time dashboard using Oracle Analytics Cloud on top of these Twitter sentiments that are on Oracle ATP. So let's see it in action.
The first part is that I previously created a Twitter application in my Twitter developer portal. So once you create that application, you're going to get a consumer key and a consumer secret. You have to write them down together with the access token and the access secret. So those 4 credentials are going to be needed to use the Twitter Stream API. Here I'm using the version 1.1 of the Twitter Stream API, and that's what I have here. So the first part is just to define the listener, for which I am using a Python library that is called TweePy. It's very useful because it handles all the complexity to be able to authenticate and use the Twitter Stream API. So that's the one that I'm using here. So you have to install it, install TweePy, and yeah, you're gonna get all that, all those packages. And basically here, what I'm doing is just that once I receive, or the listener receives the data in real time, you can capture that data. We can parse the response into a JSON object. That's what I'm doing here. And I'm also parsing out the tweet text, the screen name, and the tweet ID in order to be able to print, like what I'm receiving. So you can watch the tweets go by in console. And then I'm using something that is called the OCI SDK for Python. This is something you can find in our public documentation. So here you have the SDK for Python and how to use it, how to install it, and then how to be able to put messages into an OCI stream. Because remember, I need to send those tweets into a Kafka topic or OCI stream topic. And that's what I also did before, that I created a Twitter stream topic. So you just have to create a stream, and that will provision Oracle Managed Kafka server with all the nodes that you have defined here. So the more partitions you have, the higher scalability you are going to have. So that's what I have previously done here. So let's go back to our script. So once you have that, I'm just getting the configuration from my OCI tenancy. That's in the OCI config file. How to do that? You can also search and find in the public documentation in the developer guide how to an example of the OCI configuration file in that you need to be able to make this work. So that's a file that you have to create in this directory, okay, together with an API key that you can create in your OCI profile. So once you have that, and once we have that, I'm just sending those tweets and publish those tweets to OCI stream, right? And basically, how we do that is just we define a message list that is the array of messages that we're going to put into the OCI streaming topic. The key is going to be the search query I'm using, this, like this one, JCG sent 9, and the value that is the Twitter data. So you have to base 64 encode both key and value, and then you can put it and append it into the message list, and then you use the OCI SDK for Python to put the messages into OCI streaming. So that's what we are doing there, right? So how to proceed? We just need to go to integration. I'm going to create a new flow, an app driven, because this integration is going to be triggered by a Kafka topic. So I'm going to call this Twitter stream to Twitter sentiment store. That is going to be my store is ATP in this case. So let's move to an horizontal view. So the first part is the trigger of my integration. In this case is OCI streaming, my Kafka topic. So let's call it get Twitter streams. I'm gonna use my Twitter stream that I previously created. And I need a consumer group, so let's call it test01. I'm gonna fetch tweets every second, and I'm gonna fetch multiple tweets in terms of performance. So why 70? Because a tweet can be up to 280 characters long, right? So if you check the documentation of our batch detect language sentiment service, it says the total number of characters to process in a request can be up to 20,000. So if you multiply 280 by 70, it will be under the 20,000 characters limit. Okay, so that's why I'm putting that 70 number here in the maximum number of records to be fetched. So let's move on. Here I have to define what's the structure of the Twitter message, and here is basically a Twitter string JSON. What I'm talking about is about this. So here you have the JSON where you have the created at time for the tweet, the text of the tweet, the user information like the screen name, the location, the number of followers, all of that, and also the language for that tweet. That's basically, what my Twitter string JSON is. So let's click on next, and done. We have the first part, consuming the Twitter streams from the OCI streaming Kafka topic. The next thing is to apply the language sentiment analysis. How do we do that? We use this API. So we connect to our batch detect language sentiment API. So I'm gonna call this the detect sentiments. Here, if you check the documentation, this is the path, the URL for that API. That's what I'm putting there. Then I just need to check on post, and you need a query parameter that is the level. So I want to apply only sentence level sentiment analysis to get the overall sentiment. You could also use aspect if you want to see the top aspects, the emotions for your tweet text, let's say. Anyway, I'm just using that. So I want to configure query parameters, the request payload, and the response payload. Good. So it's called level, is the query parameter to define the kind of analysis you want to perform. Here is my JSON. Oh, sorry. Here is my JSON request. So my JSON request, if you see the API, I copy it, I paste it. It just has the array of documents, in this case tweets. The key is going to be the tweet ID, the text, the tweet text, and the language, the tweet language. Right. Then next, a JSON response. What their JSON response looks like is here in the documentation. So you can see the response. In this case, I don't want the aspects, so I'm not going to define that in the JSON structure. There we go. And okay, so now we just need to map the information coming from our Kafka topic or OC streaming topic into the API. So we need information from the tweets. So the first is I want to perform a sentence level sentiment analysis. So that's what I'm going to do here. And here is the array of documents for the API. So I just need to map the array of tweets to the array of documents. The ID, I map it with the key of the AI language API. The text of the tweet to the text of the request. And then the language. And the language is here. Okay. That's all I need to do here. So we are good. Exactly, we are good. Cool. So the next part is to remember we already did this. So now we need to load the feeds and the sentiments from Twitter into Oracle ATP. That's what we are going to do. Next. So I just need to use my ATP adapter, right? And send Twitter streams to ATP. I want to perform an operation on a table. My table, there we go. Here we see is AI Twitter sentiments demo Oracle Cloud 3. So that's the one that I want to merge. I want to perform a merge operation on that one. I use my schema and this one. Here is our table, the one that we just created. We click on next and then done, right? Now I need to map the information, the information that I received from the Kafka topic. So that's what I will do next. So I just need to map the array of messages of tweets to my table, the ID to the tweet ID, the tweet text to the tweet text. Here we have the screen name, that is the tweet username. If this tweet is retweeted, is here. The retweet count, the favorite count, the tweet user followers account, favorite followers count. Sorry, this can be found here, and the location of the user. The time is because we receive like the date of the creation of the tweet in a format that is not compatible with ATP. So we need something in the format like year, month, and date, something like that. So that's what I'm doing here, just here. So I just need to map the created that. Let's do that here. There we go. And I just need to copy it and replace it here. Okay. Okay. And finally, the tweet search query. In this case, the tweet search query comes from, remember that we established the key in our TweetPy listener. We established that the key is the search query, right? And here. There we go. So we validate, and there we go. And the final thing is just to update the scores that are coming from our sentiment analysis API. So I'm going to do a merge again on our table. Let's search it. This is our table. I import the table. Here we go. Because the result of the box sentiment analysis gives you the array with the document key, that is the tweet ID, and the results of the sentiment analysis. So that's what I will map here. So this is the response, the array of documents. So I have to map the array of documents to the table. The key is the tweet ID, document sentiment, and the document scores. So the negative is here, the positive to the tweet positive score, the mix when a tweet is like, I don't know, I like your brand, but your delivery service is horrible. That's like a mixed emotion for a tweet. And finally, I just need to define a track field for my integration. The status of the stream API, stream topic, sorry. And there we go. We are done with the consumer integration flow. I will show you how easy it is to build that dashboard on top of our Twitter sentiment feeds that we have in our QualityP, leveraging the native connectivity that we have between our analytics and the possibility to do a live connection with ATP. That it gives us like more real-time behavior. So let's do that. So the first part is to create a data set. So I will use my connectivity to Oracle ATP. Okay, so if I discover this in my schema, I will have the one that we created. So I'm gonna drag and drop it for associated with that Twitter sentiment table. So obviously I don't have anything there for now. I'm gonna call this Twitter dataset. Okay, there we go. Let's save it. I'm good with that. We create our workbook, our dashboard. We will use the dataset that I set up before. So I think it was this one, Twitter sentiment dataset. There you go. So what I can do here really fast is total tweets. So I can do here like count distinct on which column, on tweet ID. So I want to get the total number of tweets. We'll put like the Twitter username, the text, and they created that. I will create a table here. There we go. I want to use the Twitter sentiment as the color of that table. So I can use it. Let's do something really interesting. I want to use a tag cloud visualization for the different emotions and use the color as well. And here I can define the color, manage the segments. So I want the positive to be green, the negative to be red. Right? Cool. So one of the things that we have is we have plugins. So I can bring here a plugin to have an auto refresh for the dashboard. So that gives the impression of being something more, let's say, real time, right? So let's change the search query. And then execute it. There you go. And yeah, you can see how these work in real time. So we have just built a real-time analytics dashboard using a low-code, no-code approach.
So you have seen how easy and quick is to enable this real-time sentiment analysis dashboard using our no-code integration platform, Oracle Integration Cloud, together with OCI Streaming and Oracle Autonomous Database to be able to consume those Twitter feeds from Twitter, and then how to send them to our Oracle Autonomous Database. And the most important part is how we can use OCI AI language service to perform bot sentiment analysis on those Twitter feeds. So let's move on and let's explain what the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Architecture looks like to make all this possible. So this is the approach for a low-code, no-code real-time sentiment analysis on Twitter feeds. So in 1 and 2, what we are doing basically is this OCI Python Twitter stream listener using the TweetPipe library for Python that is capturing real-time tweet strings based on a hashtag or a mention. And then that Python Twitter stream listener is sending or publishing those tweet feeds to a Twitter stream or a topic in our OCI streaming service that is a Kafka-based service. Once we have that, we're using the OCI streaming native adapter that we have. So we're going to consume those tweet feeds from Twitter topic. Then we're gonna, that's tree, the Twitter stream consumer integration flow starts in tree. Then we can perform bot sentiment analysis using the REST connector or REST adapter that we have in Oracle Integration Cloud. And we perform that sentence level sentiment analysis. And after that, we can use the Oracle ATP adapter to load those tweet feeds and the sentiment data coming from OCI AI language, and then send that to Autonomous Database. So once we have them, we can use some visualization tools like Oracle Analytics Cloud to visualize those sentiments. So it was like a live dashboard using tag clouds, using tables, using display numbers to see this kind of Twitter sentiment analysis, do those tweet feeds, statistics like the number of tweets, the emotions around those tweets, which users are impacting the most or influencing the most on negative or positive emotions. And another, let's say, approach for a real-time dashboard could be what I'm showing in flow number 7, 8, and 9. Is basically we can consume, again, using OCI streaming adapter, we can perform the bot sentiment analysis in 8, and then we can send that to our WebSocket server. In this case, you could use any WebSocket technology like Socket.io. So I could host that WebSocket server in an OCI Python VM. Then that WebSocket server can forward the Twitter feeds coming from OCI Python Twitter stream listener to a WebSocket client where we can use Socket.io WebSocket client application, and the libraries there, JavaScript libraries, with another module that we have in our Oracle Integration Cloud that is Visual Builder, and finally enable a live dashboard, a more, let's say, friendly, user-friendly dashboard using that kind of modern technology like WebSockets, right? So thank you very much for joining this session, and just inviting you, if you have the time and if you are attending Oracle CloudWorld, join me in session learning 1300, where I'm going to enable, I'll show you how we can perform AI-based service ticket classification using sentiment analysis and Oracle Integration Cloud. Learning 1261, where I'm going to build a multi-cloud event-driven PO feed solution using a low-code integration approach with Oracle Integration Cloud. And even I'm going to perform a lighting session where you will see, and I will ask attendees to tweet positively and negatively about a specific hashtag, and they're going to see how these real-time analytics dashboards in Oracle Analytics and in our WebSocket client app are going to show all the trends for Twitter. So thank you very much, and hope you see you soon.